you find that they look at the same.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the TrustTV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search TrustTV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. TrustTV, documenting the Nigerian story.
All right, welcome back from that intermission. It is now time for us to, find out what the papers have in store for us today. And we'll start with our sister paper here, which is a Daily Trust newspaper. Uncertainty, which is the lead on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. The lead says electoral bill. Uncertainty as timeline for Buhari ascent elapses Sunday. And we have some writers here that says will veto if president refuses to act, says lawmakers. Why he is reluctant, says Falana, and president set to jet out. Now, at the top of the paper, you'd find a story here that says 80 die of Lassa fever in 17 states, FCT. And we also have reps seek termination of passport contracts outside Nigeria. We also have, again, Senate throws out gender equality bill. This is really a sad one, and I seriously cannot wait to hear what our reviewer has to say on this particular story. And then when you get to the bottom, you have food prices are rise as headline inflation declines. You find details of that story on page 17. We also have on page 10, no president will say banditry will end next year. And that's from Lai Mohammed. FG arraigns 15 suspected invaders of Justice Odili's residence. And we also have Sabongari youths clash with Hisbah over attempt to seize alcohol in Kano. And you find details of that story on page 27. These are all the stories we have on the front page of Daily Trust today.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. The lead story, hashtag North is bleeding protests. Federal government under attack as DSS police disperse arrest demonstrators. The riders, protest organizers arrested in Sokoto, Kaduna, Kano, Amnesty International. And then you see UN says 2.9 million people displaced in North States, petition signed by 28,000. Wow. You'd also see no president has funded security agencies like Buhari, says Lai Mohammed. You'd find the details of that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And on page 23, dollar shortage may delay 5G rollout. Winners source $547 million license fee. And on page 20, cases rise. 107 inbound passengers test positive for COVID-19 in 1 week. Still on page 23 of the Punch newspaper, federal government debt servicing gobs 2.49 trillion naira in 9 months. That's according to the DMO. And on page 16, you'd see National Assembly members fear fault DSS over Yuletide kidnap warning. And on page 34 of the Punch newspaper, you'd see ASU meets Saturday, decides on planned strike over unfulfilled agreement. And on page 4 and page 5 of the Punch, Lagos diploma holder filmed jumping into lagoon. Family searches for body. That's tragic. You'd find the details of that story on page 4 and page 5. And lastly, on page 7 of the Punch newspaper, Wike Emmanuel Obaseki boast of PDP's capacity to rescue Nigeria. These are some of the lead stories on the Punch this morning.
All right. With that, we'll move on to the Guardian newspaper, which is next on our list. And on the front page, just on the right side, you'd find, on the right corner, you'd find a story on page 4 that says FEC okays 20% pay rise for police, 6% duty tour allowance, which is, a positive news this morning, because just recently I met a policeman who complained bitterly about, his take home. And if only they can be treated a lot better, they'll be able to secure and, our lives and property well. All right, we also have Lassa fever kills 2 doctors in Nasarawa Specialist Hospital. This particular story is a sad one indeed. Just when you've thought, all these pandemics have been erased and everything, it just keeps coming back. But, I hope the health sector, finds ways of dealing with this particular Lassa fever in time. All right, police open investigation into death of lawmaker in Kaduna. And then you can find the details of that story on page 5. We also have IPOB flays Igbo leaders, politicians begging for 2023 presidency. And right on the pictorial there, you see a pictorial right on the front page there that says, it stems from a protest, that happened in Abuja yesterday, talking about Nigerians in the north demanding that government fulfills its obligation to the people and secure lives and property. Just underneath, you have a story here on page 2 that says, poor African countries, others get $93 billion lifeline from World Bank. We also have insecurity. Citizens blast federal government over Nigeria safer than 2015 comment. And the writers here say Boko Haram would have declared Islamic State in Nigeria. Federal government flays critics. Bandits killed Kaduna lawmaker, gunmen kidnap Imo monarch. We also have Buhari should show empathy to Nigerians, says Obasanjo's committee. Government insensitive to people's plight, says Rafsanjani. Police clamp down on hashtag North is bleeding protesters. Police, DSS must stop arresting northern protesters, says Amnesty. And CSOs cry out over FGC pupils, others abducted since June. And right on the footnote there, you have a story that says Obasanjo, Abdusalami, Sultan, others task federal government on constitution review. And details of that story can be found on page 3.
Okay, let's take our last newspaper for today. The Nation newspaper. The lead story there states presidency knocks Obasanjo, others over attacks on Buhari. The writer there, critics overheating polity, says minister. And on page 28 of the Nation newspaper, 15 suspects arraigned over siege to Odili's home. And on page 3, $98 million Islamic bank loan for education in Osun, 8 others. And on page 2, you'd find gunmen impose ransom on farmers harvesting crops. Lagos begins prosecution of COVID-19 rules defaulters. These are some of the lead stories on the Nation newspaper this morning.
Hey, just before we go into, the newspaper review proper, we'll take a quick break and be right back. Stay tuned.
Killing of travelers in Sokoto and incessant abductions and killings in Niger State and other places triggered protests in condemnations of government's passive action. Going memory lane. The minister says Nigerians should remember that the insecurity situation at the onset of the present administration has been substantially addressed.
With the way the insurgents were going before this administration came into office, with the control of a vast swath of land the size of Belgium, with their free-wheeling attacks in almost a dozen states, including the Federal Capital Territory, which was hit at least 5 times. Perhaps they could have achieved their aim of declaring an Islamic State in Nigeria if President Muhammadu Buhari had not acted decisively.
While acknowledging the genuine concerns in respect to the spike in the security threat, Lai Mohammed takes exception to a statement made recently by a former president of the country.
President Muhammadu Buhari has done so much under very difficult economic and social conditions to tackle insecurity in our country. Not only has he done so much, President Muhammadu Buhari continues to do much more to keep Nigeria safe. To say he has nothing more to offer is untrue, fallacious, and smacks of dirty politics.
He also debunked claims that President Muhammadu Buhari is not placing high premium on the lives being lost almost on a daily basis, saying the president is having a sleepless night finding solutions to the contemporary and existential security threats. Shapiro Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you live from our studios here in the nation's capital city, Abuja. Now, it's time for us to review, some of the stories that made headlines on the papers this morning. And we have in the studio Hamza Idris, General Editor, Daily Trust. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Okay, now there's a lead story there on the Daily Trust newspaper, which states electoral bill uncertainty as timeline for Buhari's ascent elapses Sunday, and we have a few riders there. Now let's start with what prompted the choice for choosing this story as the lead story for the Daily Trust newspaper.
Yes, the story is very important. It is about the fortune of Nigeria. It is about the 2023 election. which is coming very soon, and then it is about how the election should be conducted. So this electoral act is significant because it will give various stakeholders the focus, it will give them the powers, it will give them the sense of direction as to what to do. Yes, and it's very contentious. Politicians are in high wire politics now as to use it to their own advantage, while Nigerians are also patiently looking as to how they are going to approach it. There are two or more serious issues therein, but the contention now is on the mode of primary election by political parties. You know how important that is, because that is where political parties will select or elect, or achieve a consensus on who should flag their, exactly, who will be the flag bearer. And the members of the National Assembly, for one reason or the other, said it should be direct primaries.
Right.
Yes, by law, they have three options: by direct primaries, by indirect primaries, and by consensus.
Okay.
Yes, but the members of the National Assembly said, okay, it's better we amend the act and make it through direct primaries, whereby all members of a certain political parties will have to come together to elect their flag bearer.
Okay.
Yes, so they agreed on this, and then they sent the bill to the president, who supposed to assent to it. And this is where the drama is. Yes, by Sunday, it will be 30 days. Yes, and the president, I don't know.
Is about to jet out. So there seems to be a lot of doubt cast, because lawmakers, and Nigerians are saying that, with the time almost elapsing, will the president assent to this bill at all?
You see, all his life, all his political life, he has been an advocate of direct primaries. During the APP days, they call it Kato Bayan Kato. Yes, meaning people will line up behind their choice candidate. The president has been an advocate of this, and many people believe that he still loves that, but there are some contenders around him, especially the governors, because the APC governors kicked against it. They said they don't want direct primaries. They want the delegate option, whereby right from the ward, the electoral ward, some people will be elected to serve as delegates who will now vote for ward leaders. Then you have local government leaders. Then from there you also select those who will elect state delegates, and then it is the state delegates that will elect the presidential flag bearer. They are the ones that will select members that will go to the House of Assembly, House of Reps, and then the Senate. But curiously, senators and members of House of Representatives, they feel that because of the enormous powers at the disposal of governors, they tend to be the kingmakers. That is the governors. Whenever it is election season, you see the governors having absolute control over the delegates. So if governor is not favorably disposed to maybe a certain member going to the state assembly or wants to go back, it is very easy for the governor to take over the ticket from that person, including senators and members of the House of Representatives. So governors are so enamored, they are so powerful to the extent that they are being fed. But the drama is the legislators feel that through direct primaries, they will be able to checkmate the powers of these governors.
Right.
Yes, and then on the other hand, it's like the president is in a serious dilemma, but he may likely sign it today, maybe, or tomorrow, Friday,
would like to see
or
that.
Saturday, or maybe he will sign it from the diaspora, because lately we gathered that he will be traveling out anytime. We don't know whether it is today, whether it is going to be tomorrow or next tomorrow, but the advance party, they have jetted out already, waiting for him to arrive at his destination.
Right, you know, there's one other rider that really caught my attention, talking about lawmakers saying will veto if president refuses to act. Jide Ojo was here, recently, the political scientist, and he was saying the lawmakers, despite stating this, do not have the guts to actually veto this, because it would be like a form of embarrassment, like embarrassing your president, and you don't have that guts to do that. Are you of that opinion as well?
Well, we spoke with few of them yesterday, and they said they are just waiting for the hour, and the hour is Sunday, that if he did not act, it is the constitution that gives them that power to, bring back the bill and then veto the president, override him, and then it becomes a law. We discussed with some people who said the president, because, as I earlier said, that he too is favorably disposed to direct primaries. So it is high wire politics. He will relax. So by the time they veto him, when the governors probably, cry out, will say, no. I didn't sign it. And the legislators, they use the power vested in them, and then they vetoed me and they approve it. So
Okay, so still talking about bills, very important one. Let's talk about the gender equality bill.
Yes.
Now, and according to reports, it was thrown out or withdrawn because the bill, split the senators, talking about religion, ethnicity, sentiment, over the bill actually splits the senators. Let's have your take on that.
I think this is not the first time they are throwing it out. I had cause to represent our editor-in-chief at a forum recently where the bill was debated. It was organized by the Women Radio, exclusive for men. So prominent people were invited to dissect and discuss the merits and the demerits of the bill. Along the line, a cleric, an Islamic cleric for that matter, when he came, he explained that, look, the problem is the context and then the understanding. But if you are talking about gender equality or freedom for women and all that, it is fully entrenched in the Islamic books, right from the time of the Prophet. Yes, and he cited multiple examples. And he said at their level, they are even consulting senators and the members of the House of Representatives for them to understand the provisions in the bill. But in Islam, for instance, it is clearly stated, Ar-rijalu qawwamuna ala nisa. I'm not, learned that men are guide to women. Yes, but the coinage, that is the snack. And I think that is why the senators are sharply divided. And it is not only the Muslim senators, even many among the Christians, they say, equality, throw it out.
But many will be of the opinion that why is it that when it comes to, creating a more gender parity environment for us in Nigeria, it just becomes a problem where women are involved. Some are of that opinion. Why is it so for us here?
And the population is almost equal, or women are even more in terms of. But as I said, maybe the senator Olujimi, who is the sponsor, I hope that next time if she makes it to the Senate, she should change the title. You understand?
Okay.
Maybe that equality, maybe to fairness.
Or parity, something like that.
Yes, yeah. You know, language is, you have a lot of semantics in it, and then sometimes don't give room for your opponent to see a window that he can give you an uppercut. So I am sure many of the legislators, when they see that equality, meaning, you know, that at home,
yes,
you also have to negotiate with your wife.
But it's actually happening in a lot of relationships.
No, it's about understanding. It's about understanding. Some of us and many people believe in consensus, believe in superior argument, believe in fairness. So if your wife or your sister or your daughter advance a superior argument, if you are a wise person, you should understand. And then you should agree, provided it did not contradict the dictate of your religion, the dictate of your culture. But there is fairness in both religions, in Islam and in Christianity. I know that there is fairness. But as I said, it is the coinage of the bill, I think, that is drawing it back. And the woman, she has received a lot of support from across the divide. But you can see when it gets to decision time, it was mercilessly thrown out of the
That's quite a strong word. Okay, now let's move on to other, burning issues on our papers this morning, still on the Daily Trust newspaper. On page 10, it states no president will say banditry will end next year. That's according to Lai Mohammed. We've seen, quite the hashtags making rounds on social media, and people staging protests, about the North is bleeding whole conversation. And the Minister of Information and Culture stating this doesn't sound like an encouraging statement to make to Nigerians.
He gave it back to our reporter yesterday. That was what prompted that story. There was a press conference he organized where he spoke on the raging insecurity in the country. And there were some issues that happened within the week. In-house here, we had our editorial, a strong-worded editorial, where we said life has been reduced to nothing in Nigeria. The presidency was really angry with us, but we really didn't do it out of mischief. We spoke the minds of Nigerians. And then a day or two after, there was a dialogue in the Federal Capital Territory where some eminent personalities, including the Sultan of Sokoto, the clergy from the Christian community, Alhaji Tanko Yakase, elder statesman, and all that, and former President Olusegun Obasanjo. So at the event, Obasanjo said Nigeria should not expect anything more from the president. He has done his best. So if we expect anything, it's like whipping a dead horse. So you can see it, another salvo towards the presidency. So the minister tried to address some of these issues, and he said some people are really panning the ambers of hatred and ordered by their utterances, not based on patriotism. Then our reporter asked that, but people are crying, and indeed the country is bleeding. When will this end?
Very big question.
So I think it's out of anger. He said, look, there is no president that will tell you that banditry will end in next year. Yes.
But is that actually, a statement to make, considering that you're supposed to give Nigerians hope? And we've seen, rather than see results, we've actually seen these bandits springing up in places like Kaduna Zaria Road, and perpetrating more acts than recently. So I don't understand.
I think he was highly emotional, but during his explanation he said Nigeria should also be fair to the administration, that if not for the coming of President Muhammadu Buhari, probably Nigeria as a whole will have been taken over by the Boko Haram. Yes, he said in 2015 when they took over quite a number of local government areas, especially in Borno, parts of Adamawa, were under the firm grip of Boko Haram. They raised their flags, they were preaching freely, they sacked communities, they sacked traditional rulers, they appointed emirs and all that. But that is no more. So he said Nigerians should be fair. Of course, Nigerians are fair and they will continue to be fair to the administration. But if you look at it now, the Northwest is the epicenter and it is really bleeding. You can't move from Kaduna to Niger, with your mind, fully in you. You can't move from Niger probably to Zamfara, maybe to Kebbi, then towards Sokoto. Yes.
And now Kaduna Zaria.
Yes, every day. Just on Monday they killed, sadly, a member of the House of Assembly was among the first people that were killed, but nobody knew. It was, yesterday when they were looking for him, and then they found his corpse, and then they recovered his body. This was between Kaduna and Zaria. So it's so alarming. It is so terrible. You can see this is Yuletide season, but people are even reluctant to travel. You can see the mood is so, down.
We've also seen a lot of protests, in the north springing up. I don't know, the Nigerians coming out to say, yes, we're tired. And we've also seen security agents trying to clamp down on protesters as well.
Some arrests happened actually too, in Sokoto, Kano.
Yes,
and Kaduna.
You see all over the world, protests are allowed. Yes, there is limit to what you should do. And then also, security operatives tend to be more aggressive sometimes if they realize that the protesters have the potential to perpetrate mischief. Because there are some that they will join the bandwagon not out of patriotism, but to loot, yes, to go and loot, to go and steal, and to go maybe and get at perceived enemies. So sometimes you see the security operatives not taking it lightly, but protests are allowed. That is the only way to express anger, and that is the only way to pass your message to your leaders that look, enough is enough.
Yes,
and truly enough is enough, because life is so cheap in Nigeria that some people said the life of chicken is even more valuable now. Because it's very unlikely for you to pick somebody's chicken and go away with it. But you can see how people are being killed, how people are being maimed, especially in the Northwest. The pattern of killing is so wicked that you don't really understand what is the motivation behind the heinous act. So it is very sad. And I think it's time for the government to really act to stem the tide. Because when people are protesting, it's a strong signal
very strong.
Yes, they have reached the level at which they will not take it anymore.
And I think the reason why they're coming up for the protest is because, Nigerians are getting to the point where someone knows someone who knows someone who's a victim.
Is there any family that has not been affected? Do you think there is any family in Nigeria that has not been affected directly or indirectly by this insecurity? Not a single one. Because in all the 6 geopolitical zones, you realize that you have one form of insecurity or the other. Look at in the southeast now. The ESN, that is Eastern Security, the so-called disbanded Eastern Security, they are now targeting traditional rulers, killing them. Look at where they went to a village you know, kill they picked a paramount ruler, you know, killed him and then dumped his corpse at the market square. Not Nigeria, no. I think we have descended so low, and it's time for the government to really act.
Well, thank you so much for coming on
Thank
the
you so
program
much.
this morning. As usual, we hope to have you next time on the show.
Inshallah.